Luke 17 verse 6, KJV. And the Lord said, If ye had faith as a grain of mustard seed, ye might say unto this sycamine tree, Be thou plucked up by the root, and be thou planted in the sea, and it should obey you. It is no coincidence that Jesus used the sycamine tree in this verse as opposed to an oak or a maple tree. In context, this sycamine tree was referring to the bitterness and unforgiveness he had been talking to his disciples about in the preceding verses, but it can just as appropriately be applied to any stubborn obstacle that is standing in the way of you receiving your healing. One of the characteristics of a sycamine tree is that it has an expansive and deep root structure, which means that in the natural, it is virtually impossible to uproot or kill. If this sycamine tree represents an obstacle, then logical thinking would be that if it takes a lot in the natural to move it, then it will take a lot in the supernatural to move it, as well. That means lots of prayer, lots of speaking, lots of focused study. The bigger the obstacle, the more that is required to get rid of it. Not so. What Jesus is saying is that what looks impossible on the surface is easily accomplished with a mustard seed-sized amount of faith. That's tiny. All you have to do is speak to it and it will obey you. Notice that you don't have to pull it up yourself. There is no work involved. It says that when you speak to it, it will uproot itself and do as you say. But it is up to you to speak to it. When you utter faith-filled words, there is no obstacle too big or too deep-rooted that a tiny bit of faith won't absolutely demolish. Speak to that thing in your way. Speak to those symptoms. Speak to that disease. Then imagine it pulling itself up by the roots and running until it reaches the sea.